Fourth wave is digital everything. Digital everything is what happens when an entire discipline digitizes by turning into ones and zeros, when it becomes binary. So there was a time when physics became binary, and you can pretty much take that date to when Newton came up with the laws of motion, where they can say you can now calculate this mathematically, which suddenly allowed us to have the entire Industrial Revolution. Chemistry became binary when they worked out that you could actually figure out, just from basically what was going on within atoms, an entire periodic table. And that allowed us to suddenly create all sorts of different materials and a man-made world for ourselves that couldn't exist before. One by one, when things become binary, what that allows us to do is to be able to have a massive impact far faster. Entrepreneurship today is becoming binary, which means we're going down the same route where we can actually calculate almost mathematically what kind of results someone's going to get. You can test and measure everything today in a way that it was actually very difficult to do. And when does something go binary, it's more than just our ability to measure it, it's also our ability to replicate it. That's becoming easier and easier as well. So what we're seeing here is that digital everything is not just about the fact that our music has become binary, which means now everyone can get it because it's all in digits. Not just has our images of the world become binary, which is why Apple and Google now have 3D maps, but our information and knowledge itself is becoming binary. And that means that we've got to start treating it differently or have that power to be able to grow it. So here, for example, just taking it by people who've held onto surfboards is an example. I'm taking at the bottom to begin with. Here is Gabby Libovich. Gabby Libovich set up something called Scoopon. If Scoopon sounds very similar to Groupon, it's because it is. He started his business in Australia about 8 years ago. He's one of the richest people in Australia right now. He's still in his 20s. And when he started his first business, it was an eBay business, because a trader isn't going to go out and create their own whole market. But he started an eBay business, it was all in electronics, and he saw the whole of eBay start to go down in terms of people not wanting to buy what he had anymore, and he thought, what am I going to do? He saw in America something called Groupons has started up. This is 3 years ago. He saw that what Groupons was doing was basically creating a new platform. He decided that he was going to do the same for all of his products. So he created something which is his daily deal site for the products that he had on eBay. He moved them across, and he suddenly realized, it's not, he was trading those products in, but it's not even about those products. It's about the fact that he was knowing better than others around him how to price the trade such that he was making the yield on the trade. Traders are good at yielding. That word yield is basically like a maternal feeling. It's about knowing that you don't have to push anything as long as you can see the difference of one and another. So as a result of him doing that and knowing he's good at that, he said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a trading platform, but because I can make more money not from hard goods like electronics, I can make more money from soft things like services. I'm going to do what Groupons does, and he had never been in that market before. But he set up Scoopons, which was just like Groupons. The whole thing's grown, and he's now worth many millions just by using his trader profile of the fact that he knows when to buy, when to sell. And he was better than that than other people around him. A great example of someone in Singapore, Jim Rogers, one of the wealthiest people in Singapore. He was the partner of George Soros in the Quantum Fund. And he said, I've had enough of America. I'm out of here. I'm going to Singapore. And he went off to Singapore. You might have heard that our co-founder of Facebook also went off to Singapore. He's got a lot of flack in America recently because they think that he's kind of like done it to kind of like get out of tax and so on. But he already went through the same process. I've seen him speak in Singapore where he's talking about the global mindset, and that Singapore is the only place in the world right now that within 5 hours you can get to over half of the world's population, and you can get to 2/3 of its economy. I mean, that's a pretty good reason to be there, but it's something that you can miss altogether if you're basically not looking at it from a trader point of view. Here's a second person, a deal maker. Very different, because a deal maker is all about people. Jessica Jackley, she founded Kiva. She also founded ProFounder. And she started Kiva because she actually went to, here in California, she went to a talk by Muhammad Yunus on microfinancing. And she was like, wow, you know what? We should do something like that, because what I see is that there are people out there who'd love to get involved, but they can't because they don't have a microfinancing background or a company. Let's set a way to connect people directly together. So it's all about the deal. And so she did that. It grew. When she broke up with her husband, she's there thinking, okay, so what do I do next? She came with the idea of ProFounder to do that too. But ProFounder, at the point when group funding is now growing and crowdsourcing is growing, ProFounder closed in February. And he said, well, why would ProFounder close when the likes of Kickstarter are growing really fast? And if you go back a year, everyone was talking about ProFounder in the same breath as Kickstarter. It's because she didn't have any creator or anyone who's driving that business with the vision, so she was just trying to manage it the way that she knew best how to manage it. So what has she now done, given that it didn't work out the way she wanted it to? Well, what she's done is deal makers are very loyal to their teams. So she's got this whole team. She's like, guys, we've got to do something here. We're not getting the same results. Kickstarter is obviously kicked off and going well. Their whole model this is quite a sad story, because their whole model was based on small people taking equity within a business and they had huge issues with the securities commissions. The Securities Commission basically said you're not allowed to do that. Within 3 months of her closing ProFounder, because of all those problems, the Jobs Act passed, and if she'd kept it going, within a year, she'd be well ahead of everybody. You know, so, and by the way, just as a side note on this, there's nothing more heartbreaking than seeing someone go down the wrong path their whole life when they should have known better and they should have switched to the right path. There's not anything more heartbreaking than seeing someone going down the right path, but just before they get there, figure maybe it's the wrong path and then move off it. Right, so it's a large part of wealth dynamics, which is about certainty of knowing you're on the right path or not, so you don't give up at the wrong time, or you don't hold on to something that you shouldn't be doing in the first place as well. Does it make sense to everyone? Yeah. So anyway, in her case, she went ahead and said, well, let's do something here. So what does she do? She looks at the deals she's got around her. And it just so happens that one of the groups she loves working with is Good Magazine. Anyone here heard of Good Magazine? Yeah, Good Magazine, brilliant magazine, but doesn't have a lot of technical know-how. So she takes her whole team, goes over to Good, said, let's work together. They now are all working in Good, and they're now basically looking to relaunch this within the Good brand. And a perfect example of a deal maker that doesn't have to do it all themselves, because they're asking who do I need to work with, when do I need to be doing things by. And a third example, some of you may have at least heard of this platform, if not of Ben himself. This is Pinterest. And I've written a lot about Ben because he's a perfect accumulator who, when he started up, was saying, I'm not even an entrepreneur. I don't want to take risks. I don't want to do any of that. Ben, he started Pinterest, but his whole focus of what he loved to do was make graphs. He loves to take information and turn them into graphs. So he did that in New York, and then he got a job doing that in Google. And when he left there, he's like, well, what do I do next? He loves collecting things. So all accumulators love to collect things. It's just some accumulators collect the wrong stuff. But he loves collecting things, and so he's like, well, let me put a pinboard together. This is the reason that a lot of accumulators in this room, or those who are more introvert, might have been feeling very uncomfortable with the likes of Facebook in the last 5 years. Why would they be uncomfortable? Because there's something about that wall where everything you put on it keeps disappearing. Accumulators hate losing stuff. You can go into an accumulator's room and they know where everything is. They know where it all is, like everything's got a place. You know, it's like creators lose stuff all the time. It's like, oh, I'll just buy another one. It's like that. Whereas the accumulators like hold on to their stuff because security is really important. So here he is thinking, geez, you know what? All these social media isn't helping me keep my stuff. I want something that stays in one place instead of moving. So he came up with the concept of Pinterest with a group, and they got it going, and it went for over 2 years without many people using it until the cycle of social media also moved around. So let me just share something about a cycle here, which you might find quite interesting. All businesses will always, within any industry, self-organize themselves into one of 5 different types of businesses. And you can actually check by looking, if you had a financial controller go in and look at their numbers, you would see that the good ones had set themselves up in this way. You have businesses that are at the top here, which are product-based businesses. So a product-based business is one which actually sets up its forecast of what it's going to do based on how many products are we going to have, how many are we going to sell, how much are we going to sell them for. So Apple is a product-based business. It actually says, and they tell everyone, here's how many we're going to sell. You know, at the moment, Apple has already scheduled out years in advance how much money it's going to make. And it's told the stock market, and the stock market's priced it in based on how much they're going to make. They don't even know what they're going to make. They don't even know yet, right? But they know it's going to be something that's going to make this much money on this basic. And so they've got a product which is leveraged out. And this product is all fine and good at the beginning of a spring season. All at the beginning of a spring season, you're always going to find a product making the money. So you can go to the beginning of Web 2.0. And at the beginning of Web 2.0, it was those who actually had products, including those creating blogs, content. Whoever's creating content was able to make stuff work. And everyone was saying, go out, set a blog up, create your own content. And that was fine for creators, and it wasn't very good for everyone else. But from product, it gets to a size where there's enough product coming out that people go, hey, you know what? This product which is all in a certain group that I want to hang out with those people and get that product. And so you have something which is called a market-based business. And a market-based business is not spring, it's summer. And it's at the point where if you go and look at their forecast, it doesn't say here's the product I'm going to sell and how much I'm going to sell it for. It says here's the clients or members or customers I have and how much I'm going to make from each one. Nothing to do with product. In fact, we'll go to the people with the best products and we'll make sure that we get them to help us to make each customer relationship more valuable. So when you're this kind of a business, no point trying to create your own product because there's other people's products that actually will get you to your result better. But they will always give what the market wants. Within the speaking industry, we've seen it happen where there was a point back in the 80s where the speaker held all the power. I'm the speaker, you pay me because I'm the guy of the content. Then there's lots of speakers. It's like, okay, well, who do we go to? And what happened was that we, as the people going in to hear people speak, were like, actually, you know what? I don't even know I want to follow that person. I want to follow this event organizer or this person who's got a community that's always bringing the best stuff, because they're already going to bring me the best stuff. So that's when we can become a market-based business. And then all of a sudden, these guys lose their power, and they've got to then go and actually make sure they can find the right event organizer to work with. But then from here, it always moves from market to this thing down here called location. Location is when there's so many markets now going, they all want a place to show up in some way. And so this is Autumn Energy, where if you go to someone on the location base, you'll see that they actually measure everything by square foot, by square meter. Or if you're a resort, like our resort in Bali, we measure our success by our occupancy rate. Right? It's like product can change. In fact, we'll actually work with people who actually bring tours in, who bring their own speakers in to do their retreat, and we're happy to bring them in. In fact, we'll look for them more than we'll look for individuals, but at the end of the day, we want to fill up our resort. So that's location-based. And today, within the speaking industry and the coaching training industry, the hotels make more money than any of these guys or these guys, because they're the ones who are actually paying for you to show up. And if you're not willing to pay, they'll get someone else to pay. So this is about location, which then leads finally to distribution, which is the likes of the DHLs or the Googles of the world, where they're actually saying at the Winter Energy, you know what, there's so many different locations, there's so many people moving towards it, it's a mature industry now. We've got to look at it just from the basis of what is the per distribution or per unit cost of everything moving through. So if we can make it easier and simpler for people to come through us and cheaper, we'll go down that route instead. So why is this important? Because social media itself, Web 2.0, went through this with the blogs, it went through this with the Facebooks. It's now going through this, which is locations where we're organizing all of that. And this has happened before. Web 1.0, we can go right back to the 1990s, where it started with the likes of the browsers that were out there like Mosaic, and then it became about the AOLs of the world and the CompuServes of the world, just like the Facebooks today, and just like the Twitters of today. And then it moved on to this one, location-based, where fundamentally everything became the pets.com and all the ones where people were now going and where the products were. All money gets made on these two. Selling product, or basically renting location, or on either of these two. This is where all leverage happens in between, where you're basically breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Don't go try and make money on social media. It doesn't work. No, never has, never will. But you can use it to leverage what you're selling here, or where you're attracting people into here, right? And so there's always a way to do this. So most people don't get this mechanic, which is why they're brilliant at what they do, and then they get lost somewhere along the way because they just weren't following natural forces that are already around us. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so where do we go from this? We now have him basically go through a process where he's waiting for autumn to come. When autumn comes, he looks like a genius. But if he was 2 years earlier or 2 years late, he's not a genius. So this is about timing, but knowing that all ways will come if you hold onto your board and you're willing to hold onto it for long enough because it's your passion and what you do. So here's an example of someone who is a supporter profile. So now we're on the fire end side. I got a chance to meet with Chris Anderson when I was when he came to the Green School. And perfect example of someone who's brilliant at magnifying. And Chris didn't start up TED. TED was already going. But Chris came in and said, you know what? We should get this out. We should magnify this. We should have something that everyone will know about TED. So what are you going to do, Chris? Well, we're going to give it for free. Everyone's like, what? You can't give it for free. That's the only way we make money is people pay to come to it. He goes, no, they're not coming for the content. They're coming for the connections and for the experience. So get the content out there for free, and then everyone will come to TED for the experience. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He got it out there so that YouTube became the way that people could hear about TED. It made people who basically were already with great content thinking, you know what, I want to be on there because it's going to get out to the rest of the world. So he attracted far better people, and people today, and I'm sure there's people in this room who go to TED where you know you pay a lot more today than you would have 10 years ago to actually be part of that. And so this is a perfect example of a supporter who doesn't have to create anything. But he had a passion and a vision from day one, which was to have ideas that spread. And he's not an ideas guy himself. He'd be the first to tell you that. But he does love being around people with ideas, and he loves actually helping them to have an environment to make that work. So as a supporter, don't go figuring out you have to be the next Einstein. You can be someone who creates the space for Einsteins to appear. And Chris did a great job on that. Opposite of Chris. This is someone who I just saw on TV yesterday. They had an interview with him, Jack Dorsey. Like he is, you know what Jack's hobby was when he was about 12 or 13 years old? It was designing better pathways for his friends to be able to do their newspaper runs. This is what he would do. In fact, his first little system was a system to help taxi drivers actually get the right messages in the right way so that they would have the right people going to the right place. And he still has that. I mean, that system became worth a lot, but he did that as a teenager. His whole focus was, how do I actually get logistic information moving? How do I get communication information moving? When he first met with Ev Williams, who at that point had just finished Blogger. And Ev is a great creator. So Blogger is like, wow, that was great. Ev thought the future was in basically music, in podcasts. This is back in 2004, 2005. So basically, he showed up, Jack shows up and says, I've got this great idea, which is going to be people connecting with each other and sending messages to each other, but to lots of people all together. It's a dispatch system. And Ev's like, well, that sounds a lot like kind of SMS to me. And he goes, no, it's different, because it goes out to a lot of people. And he's like, I'm not getting that, but anyway, I need your help, so come work with me. So they get together and they start working on the next big thing, which is this whole podcast system. And then all of a sudden, Apple shows up. And Apple has this iPod come out, and they go, well, we can't compete with that. So Ev's willing to give all the money back now to all of the investors that put the money in. And that's when Jack is like, well, let's see if we can do something. He says, well, what do you got? And he says, well, here's this idea, which was Twitter. And so basically they said, well, we've got nothing else better, let's just give it a shot. And that's how the story goes. They got it going. And then, and to begin with, just like with Pinterest, it was slow, but then it just started taking off, because that was again at that right point when Facebook was just taking off as well, when we were all wanting to connect with each other. And then as a result of that, start to shift and grow as well. So as a result of that, Twitter went well. Was he happy with that? Sue, a billion-dollar business? No, he said, look, this is what I love to do, but I've done my job here in Twitter. Square, the future is in mobile payments. I want to do the same thing for mobile payments now. Give everyone a chance to be a bank. Which is exactly what he's doing today, and he's going to probably make Square a lot bigger than Twitter ever was. And so sometimes just following the right people, if you're a Lord profile, you start following people like Jack and what he does, you can learn so much, because these people are so clued in to what their profile is and what they're good at, and they're not going to let anyone get them down for something they're not so good at. Rolling through a total opposite one, Ray William Johnson. If any of you have seen Ray William Johnson, perfect example of a star, in that this was at the beginning of YouTube. And Ray, when he started, he was a lawyer, and he basically started by saying, I love the idea of me having my own video channel. He started his video channel with him saying, hey, here I am, guys, and this is what I've been doing today. And he went for the first 6 to 9 months, where he got a total of 13 people subscribing to his channel. 13, that's a 1-3. And he's like, this is not working. So his whole thing about being a star, and a lot of stars think they've got to be their product. But the point of a star is your brand. If Oprah Winfrey was just trying to sell her book that she created, she wouldn't be able to create a book club. So she doesn't do that. In the same way, all stars don't, Tiger Woods isn't trying to build his own, shoe companies for him to promote his shoes. So in the same way, he was there thinking, well, look, I'm clearly not creating great content. What is great content out there that I could do something with? And when he looked out, obviously viral videos were taking off. And he's like, you know what, I could do something with that. So he basically created his own website, his own channel, which was taking the best viral videos every single week and basically packaging them all together, bringing it out twice a week and saying to guys, hey guys, here's what I think about these videos. And it went up and up and up. And today, his is the #1 subscribed channel on YouTube. And it's just gone up and up and up in size. Whereas today, as you can see there, if you kind of have a bit of a look there on the side, and it's a bit faded, but I think it's somewhere in the region of about now well over 5 million subscribers that he has, and many more, over 100 million views of his videos. And you might think, well, 5 million doesn't sound like a lot. Well, guess what? Disney Channel here in America only has about 3 million subscribers. Fox News only has 1.7. So you've actually got a situation where an individual has been able to go out and build a brand bigger than any of these companies, simply by him saying, I don't have to be the product. I just have to be the brand that promotes the product. Now, is he ending there? No, absolutely not. He's realized that viral videos are going down. And once in a while, there's a spike, but it's not like it used to be. So he said, well, what's everyone doing now? And he's seeing that music videos actually make more than viral videos in terms of views. So he set up an entirely new channel, which is for music. And he's gone out and he's got people together to actually look at what are the main memes that people are, any meme that's going on out there, he links in with music and he creates a crazy little music video, and these have gone big and viral, where he's now getting more people actually watching his viral videos because he understood what it was all about than they're actually watching the Beyoncés of the world. And so it's so fundamental when you actually know that there's a channel that you're going to move through, starting with a product, to actually not try and hold on to all parts of this system, but actually get onto the piece of value where you can be right. It's like a global pass the parcel, where the whole idea is to pick it up and pass it on and know the value is going to grow at every level. Final 2 that I have here. I have Mechanic, Salman Khan, Khan Academy. So many of you heard of Khan Academy. Khan Academy, perfect example where the difference of someone like Salman Khan compared to Ray is in your face with every one of his videos. Salman, you don't even see him. He's not even there. Mechanic does not want to be there like, ha, look at me. And if you know the story of Khan Academy, of how he did it because he wanted a smarter, better way of explaining to his niece how to go about these simple problems and making them simpler. And as a result of that, he's been able to actually just create these simple little examples of everything from algebra through to now economics as well that he's covering in little bite-sized pieces that people can use. And you know, his whole vision out there is to get this to the world. And the amount of money he's now getting in donations, the way he's actually developing and growing this is all about the attraction you get when you follow what you do best and you don't try and get distracted by what other people share and want you to be. And I said I'd mention this person again, I'm doing it again, Sebastian Thrun with Udacity. This is so fascinating what happened to him, because when I met him, this was before he had done his first online, he was not just He's not just the creator of the Google car, he was also the first guy really to create at Stanford an online class which he did in artificial intelligence, and that was in about November last year, so less than 6 months ago that he did that. And there's something about a creator that's really important to know, which is that when he got his first car going, and he was an inventor, right? So he basically was like, I want to create cars that can kind of drive on their own. He entered the DARPA challenge, which is the one from LA up to Vegas. He won it. Not the first time around, but he won it. When he won it, did he stop there? No. He got together with the second and third place winners and said, guys, let's start a company. And let's go to someone who can fund us. So they went to Google. And Google then funded them with their idea to start the Google car. One of the first things that a creator should do, just like someone like Eckhart Tolle sells more books, not by trying to go out and promote his books, but finding an Oprah Winfrey out there, the first thing a creator does, like Sebastian Thrun, is go find a Google, someone who can promote and be a platform for your products. So when he went and did that, then sure enough, he gets all the support and success. And then from there, what then happened was he, with his Stanford job, an artificial intelligence, said, look, I'm going to try and get this out to a larger audience, convinced Stanford to let him provide the same information that he's doing within the Stanford class on artificial intelligence, free to everybody, went out there with the hope that there'd be people who then sign up for this thing, thinking there might be a couple of thousand that would do this. By the actual day that this thing launched in January this year, there was over 70,000 people signed up for a class with only 200 people in the class. And from there, he's like, geez, there's something big in this. And he left at the end of February to set up, end of January to set up Udacity, where he's now doing his own promotions instead. Well, I'll tell you one thing. What he does now getting as much traction as what he did in Stanford? The answer is no. Because he's not got the name of Stanford anymore. Now, can he do it? Yeah, possibly. But I think if you watch what he does, he'll be bringing the likes of Stanford and others in, because he's now competing with the big guys out there, and MIT and Harvard have all got into this as well, because there's a big wave coming. So don't basically drop a wave, which is the right wave for you to connect up with to move forward on as well. But a perfect example of someone who has been successful twice in 2 areas by linking in with someone who could see the value in his creations and being part of that as well. I have this little quote here, which is a quote from Albert Einstein. Everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, that should be a tree, it will live its whole life thinking it's stupid. So there's many people in this room where you're a genius in whatever it is you do, but somewhere along the line, someone told you to tone down that part. Like, you're creative, but someone said, hey, just finish some stuff. Or like, you're a star, but it's like, hey, stop being so out there. You tone down the thing you're best at, and at the same time work on the thing, like, well, you're so disorganized, get more organized. And because of that, basically the disconnection happens. And it's time to reconnect back to that again.